So, are people finally fed up with this whole nonsense? Are people finally seeing that it's nothing more than a great big giant ploy to make money and pander to an extremely small size of the population? Funny when you actually sit back and think on the fact that, I don't know, that veterans, we get Memorial Day, Veterans Day. Americans really only get July the 4th. Only about 3 days total. Christians, they get Easter, technically Christmas when you think about it. But yet 2% of the population, 2% of the population gets an entire month. I think people have finally snapped when it comes to Pride Month. Before we get started on this video, guys, I want you to know right now that there will be no videos on Wednesday, which is technically today. I had a lot of things going on. I just don't have time to actually post, so we're going to kind of double things up tomorrow. So expect 3 videos on Thursday. Expect 2 to 3 videos on Saturday. I'm going to try to have a project out on, Friday. I'm going to try to have a project out on Saturday and Sunday, both 2 things that I'm working on, but I'll be previewing that in the next video, which, by the way, is also going to coincide with this one here. So, you're seeing some footage from this past weekend. Of course, June being Pride Month, and as you guys can see, the festivities had already started. Kids, of course, were being used. Of course, you get, you get this thing right here from Andy No. Apparently, a group of Armenians got into a fight with some, let's just say, some Antifa types over Pride in California. Don't worry, that right there will be a much, much larger subject in video 2 of the day because, as I have said on multiple occasions, this right here is not the group of people to piss off. I'm not saying that all these Armenians were Muslims or Islam, but here's the deal. There's a lot going on here to cover. But still, though, at the same time, you got to ask yourself a question. Are people finally tired of this nonsense? Well, let's take a look at it. Okay, you guys remember Bud Light. They've practically tanked, pretty much giving away free beer, pretty much buying beer back also at the same time. Anheuser-Busch as a whole, their stocks are falling. Target right now is looking at a $13 billion loss. I've already explained in previous videos that you didn't want to do that if you were Target because you were actually the alternative to Walmart, to the monotony of Walmart, but yet you decided to put pride displays aimed at children at the very front of the store. And then you get this little nonsense here, which, by the way, I saw on Sky News Australia. By the way, Tim Pool also covered this as well, but unlike Tim, Sky News was actually able to blot some of this out. Make sure you guys pay very, very close attention to this because this right is the type of stuff that is being thrust into children's faces.
Right. Let's have a look at one that does not look family friendly to me. Wowie, yes. And it went on and on. Trust me, we haven't shown you the worst of it. Kosher, reportedly kids in that crowd. I mean, really, it's 2023. We live in the West. Do we need to be celebrating anyone's sexual orientation anymore? I mean, it seems like it's almost pushing the envelope to a point where very reasonable live and let live people are going to start objecting.
Mm-hmm. It's that issue again that they're conflating acceptance and equality with sexualization and fetishization, even one could say, of all sorts of things on the spectrum of sexual behavior out in the open, in the middle of the day where potentially children are there. And that's, I think, what people are objecting to. It's being wrapped up again and being about a battle that's kind of won. They've won that. It's not a thing anymore to be against.
Well, we don't see the local strippers from Bar 20 parading down the street, celebrating their lifestyle choices. I don't know why we need to be doing this either, but here we are.
Kids need to be looking at somebody, I don't know, slapping another man's ass. The kids need to be seeing this. Kids need to be exposed to this. I mean, we've already talked about the whole school issue with drag shows. By the way, I got to go ahead and say this. If you want to do drag shows, go right ahead. Just don't do them in front of children. However, I've also said on multiple occasions, and I will continue to maintain this position, I blame the parent more than I do the person doing the show. The reason why is because parents should have enough common sense to not carry their kids to these places, which, by the way, is going to be bringing me to another point here soon. So here's the deal. If you are a parent and you carry your kids to these shows, then you, quite frankly, are just not a good parent. I have said this when it comes to the topic of gaming. I did a video on this before where I basically was explaining why Matt Walsh has got this great big giant stick up his ass when it comes to gaming, but yet on the gender stuff, he's actually pretty good. Outside of the whole gender thing, I really and truly don't see where he's much use, but still at the same time, though, I'll digress for the purpose of this video. It's about moderation. It's about balancing things out. However, you are actually carrying your child to these shows. You are actually letting your child see this. You are actually exposing a small child to this, practically traumatizing the hell out of that child. You are not a good parent. I will go ahead and say it right now. The exact same way, if you let a child sit in front of a video game all day and do absolutely nothing without no type of balance or moderation, then you are not a good parent. I'm going to go ahead and say this right now. The problem here is the parents who are carrying their kids to these shows, carrying their kids to these events. But then you got events where, well, let's see. Let's take a very, very good look at this.
Took it down. It's like, okay. They were like, it's hate speech. All we're doing is talking about stock price. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. YouTube, at the very least, does allow us to criticize these things. YouTube may actually say, hey, we agree with you. No, kids should not watch this. And that's the point. If YouTube does, then okay. And they might. Then we say to all of these organizations, this is not appropriate for children. I certainly don't think it is. You have that book, Genderqueer. On Amazon, the book is listed as being for 18 and up only because it depicts overt sexual acts. Yet for some reason, it's in middle schools. This is where we've come to. Here you go. Libs of TikTok. Pride Day at St. Matt's Tigers. So, they privated their account. Wow. The school was decorated in Progress pride flags with teachers dressed up for pride. Here you go. In this video, you have teachers waving pride flags, wearing this gear. These things aren't appropriate for children. Happy Pride Day, they're saying. All the teachers are dancing. Homeschool your kids. Look at these kids. These kids are waving the flags. Everyone walk in. They don't seem to be very enthused. This is a cult. Everyone is welcome here, the flag says. Sure. And there's the rainbow. Up. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. That rainbow is a symbol of God's covenant to the earth. And it's a religious symbol that should be removed from the school. Just saying. There's the kids skipping through the rainbow, dancing. They don't know about it. They don't know about it. This is what indoctrination looks like. They're the teachers dancing and singing. Homeschool your kids. And I got to tell you, you got to watch who your kids are hanging out with.
You know, Tim made another point in that video, that entire episode itself, which I'm going to try to link into the description box. And it's a point that I have been making here on my channel from the very start. And that point is that the vast majority of this is going on in the most liberal cities of the United States. New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco, much, much more liberally ran. That's where a lot of it is. And the divide in the country, you guys can kind of probably see by now, is mostly occurring between, how do I say this? It's occurring more between the rural small town versus the very, very large towns. But we're going to be covering that a lot more in the second video on this topic, where we talk about the fight between the Armenians and the Muslims versus the Pride parents. We'll be talking about that here in a second. I have no idea why the hell I even called them Pride parents, because they've got no actual kids. Maybe Pride parents is actually a pseudonym for fake parents, because obviously most liberals don't like to have kids. They don't even like kids. They don't plan on having kids. But that obviously has also got something to do with it as well, because they believe that these kids are theirs, when in reality they're not. They actually are kids that belong to the parents. And parents obviously don't want their kids exposed to this nonsense. But we'll cover that much, much more thoroughly in the second video on this topic, which will be coming out shortly after this one here on Thursday afternoon. Once again, parents could put a stop to this if they would just simply go out there and actually do something. Keep this crap out of the schools. Keep our kids from being exposed to it. However, as I mentioned before, obviously conservatives are starting to win the culture war. You see, there are a lot of companies right now, say, for example, Major League Baseball, for example. I'm pretty sure we've already talked about the Dodgers before. And meanwhile, Clayton Kershaw, he got some props, of course, for standing up to the organization, and then eventually the Dodgers, the players, eventually cucked. I'm not exactly surprised on it. I actually expected that to happen. But of course, you're alienating over a third of your base, which happens to be Hispanics, who, by the way, are also Catholic. But still, at the same time, I'm pretty sure the Dodgers will get it somewhere, especially seeing how they're actually in a slump right now. But still, I'll digress for the purposes of this video. Fact of the matter is this right here. You don't need to be taking your kids to these places. But at the same time, as parents, you do not need to be allowing the schools to indoctrinate your kids this way. College, okay, that's one thing. Obviously, the universities are already very far left. But of course, something happens when people are in college. You see, when people come out of college, once they've got their degree and everything, they try to get a job. And then they realize they can't get a job in that field. So what happens? They end up working like at Starbucks or McDonald's or whatever. Or they may even take up a trade. If you really and truly want to go from becoming a liberal to straight up becoming a conservative, then I advise you guys go work like in carpentry or construction, bricklaying, some type of trade, something like that. Something that actually mans you up, if you guys kind of pick up on what I'm saying. There's also a lot of women out there who do that too, who are also much, let's just say much more masculine than a lot of the feminine beta males out there. But still at the same time, though, once again, because it's YouTube, I'll digress. Fact of the matter is that the parents who are actually allowing this to occur, they are the actual problem. However, a lot of parents are beginning to step up, and a lot of parents are obviously seeing this effect on their children, and they're obviously not good with that. So what do? You buy local, you buy small business. You don't shop at these stores anymore, and obviously these companies don't want to, let's just say, go through with the whole pride nonsense. Again, I mentioned the Dodgers earlier. I tried to bring up Major League Baseball. I know I kind of went a little bit off course there. But Major League Baseball, what did they do? They did the whole pride thing on the MLB logo. They dropped it within a day. Microsoft did the exact same thing, dropped it within a day. Do you know why? Because a lot of these companies are scared of being Bud Lighted. Good job. Great. You've gotten the wokes to start to digress. Now, really quick, I haven't really talked much about solutions on this channel, but here's some solutions right now. Back in, I want to say it was back last year, Steve Bannon, he was on Timcast IRL. He was actually on Timcast IRL in 2020. I think it was this one here. He talked about the possibility of taxing some of these, he talked about the possibility of taxing the wealthy. Now, me personally, I'm not okay with that. I'm not a socialist. I'm not a communist. I'm not okay with that at all. Steve Bannon supposedly is not a communist or a socialist either. He's a right-wing populist. But still at the same time, though, there are reasons why I'm not a populist. However, I do think that we do need to at least explore the possibility of what we call a woke tax. Meaning, if you choose to push pride and you choose to push wokeness, then therefore you shall pay a tax. And I also think that that tax shall be retrograded back to when this whole nonsense started. Meaning that, yeah, you pushed wokeness on people. You went out of your way to violate people's, you violated your own customer base. You're already losing money. So I guess what more is another $10 to $15 billion? I guess we might as well do that. I'm pretty sure if you did that, I'm pretty sure these woke corporations, this woke capitalism, which is really just corporatism, because let's face it, a lot of lefties, they automatically associate capitalism with much larger companies, of course, the bigger corporate companies. They don't seem to understand there's a difference between capitalism and corporatism. We'll have a video on that in the near future as well. These people obviously don't seem to understand that. However, I'm okay with taxing some of these woke corporations and taking some of the money. I'm pretty sure if you did that, they would change their tunes pretty freaking quick. It would also go to help pay off the national debt. It would also be able to go to other programs. It would also go to fund the military. By the way, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm 100% okay with military spending, okay? 100% okay with military spending. I was prior service Marine, so obviously I'm okay with that. I wish the boys would get more money. I wish the troops as a whole would get more money. I wish they would get better equipment. I also think you can do it much more efficiently. You see, the fact of the matter is that the culture war, especially seeing how Republicans or conservatives have decided to start going to platforms like, say, Rumble or BitChute or Odyssey, and hell, even here on YouTube from time to time, because they have actually curtailed some of this nonsense, some of the censorship in some areas, but then again, they're also doing it in other areas. Conservatives have gotten the word out. By getting the word out, now conservatives become much more politically engaged. They obviously see it at these places that they go. They don't like it. They don't want their kids exposed to it. And now they're actually saying something and actually doing something about it. So yes, the boycotts have in fact worked. Which brings me to my final point, seeing how people were obviously upset about that. And I want to go ahead and say one more thing. I originally wanted to do a project on this calling, "Is Gay Acceptance Declining?" Then I realized I had to ask the question, well, maybe it isn't gay acceptance that's declining, even though that's going to be a very good video here in the near future in a project essay form. But I needed to also say this. maybe it's just pride acceptance is going down. I don't know. Either way, I'm happy that pride acceptance is going down. I'm pretty happy that obviously these companies see that people can turn out their lights. I mean, just like that there, people can obviously, these people in charge now obviously see that, hey, we're the consumer. You might not want to piss us off. You might not want to jilt us. You might not want to, I don't know, man, give 2 to 5% of the population an entire month. Meanwhile, you've got men who actually fought and died for this nation who don't only get 1 day of remembrance. You've got men who fought and gave damn near everything they had for this country, and yet they only get 1 day. You get a country's independence being celebrated July the 4th. They only get 1 day, okay? But yet this group over here gets an entire month, and Christians, they only get Easter, possibly Christmas. Yeah, it's very, very strange. It's very, very, very weird. We're losing our way as a society. We're losing our way as a country. But it looks to me like people have finally woken up and they finally had enough of this, and they're actually fighting back. So, yeah, thank you for pushing all this wokeness, because the only thing you did was just wake up a great big giant sleeping giant. And, of course, it's going to eventually take back the country. And, of course, all the social justice warriors will scream and holler and do that bull crap there. And you know what? It's going to be one hell of a thing to see. Now, guys, before I end this video, I need to go ahead and tell you something. If you come to my page, okay, which obviously you are welcome to do so, I appreciate every single one of you guys who watch this content, every single one of you hit the like button on this content, every single one of you guys who actually subscribe to this content. But I need to say this. I have re-updated the, how do I say this? I have re-updated the, let's say the playlist on my channel. You're going to see a lot of old takes, and then you're going to see 5 separate playlist. I'm probably going to create one more, because obviously we're going to be doing more content and more directions and more different styles of actually doing it, especially starting now, seeing how YouTube is making some changes. I've also got to fix the short timer prepping channel as well, as far as that is concerned. So that's one of the main reasons why I've decided to kind of take today, which of course I didn't get done with the other stuff until about an hour ago. I just now got home to actually record this video, and of course I got a lot of content to record, but I've also got a lot of work to fix on the second channel, my backup channel, Short Timer Prepping, which by the way is going back to its original name, Gear Issue 33. I'll be leaving a link in the description box, as well as these videos here, especially this one on red flag laws. So make sure you guys go over and check that channel out as well. I'm going to be very, very busy. But starting next week, you're probably going to notice some more differences, not in the actual content itself, just mostly in the tone and presentation. Like always, we're trying to angle in that way. With that right there being said, guys, if you like this content, please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Share the video. Sound off in the comment section. I would love to get you guys' thoughts. If you feel that I have earned your subscription, please subscribe. And also, please hit that notifications bell. Share these videos with your friends. Share them on Facebook. Share them anywhere and everywhere. And I will see you guys later.